So I guess this is 2020 for you. You finally get to the season, you get one game in, and then the next one gets canceled. But at least we talk Nebraska football here every Thursday night here at MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. Welcome into our first ever Nebraska Cornhuskers live show. And we want to let you know right out of the gate that Nebraska Live is brought to you by the Cornhusker fans at Phone Genie. So you head on over to ToleyBrothersLick.com. I will post a banner here in just a second. That's ToleyBrothersLick.com. Tolley Brothers offers products for home and workplace to deliver serious and effective germ mitigation efforts. And the only way we make this possible is bring in guys like Greg Peterson from Husker Online. Greg, how you doing tonight?
Doing well. How about you, Mark?
I'm doing great. Let's talk some Nebraska football for the next hour. We invite everyone to leave your comments, your questions, your debate topics, whatever you want to hear out of Greg and myself over the next hour talking Husker football. I was looking forward to this game against Wisconsin, even though you were going to miss two of your best defensive players in Taylor Cameron Britt and Deontay Williams as well after the targeting plays. But let's get to the here and now, and then we'll go back and we'll talk some Ohio State game because Scott Frost, I shouldn't be surprised by this maneuver to try to get a game on the field this Saturday because he, more than anybody, pushed for football during this whole cancellation period, but just didn't come together because of the Big Ten.
Yeah, the news came down earlier this morning. I don't think anybody really expected the Big Ten to allow this to happen in the first place. But, and obviously Nebraska's taken a lot of national heat again today with, our colleague at Yahoo Sports, Dan Wetzel's story that came out today about the Nebraska marriage to the Big Ten. But, you can't fault Nebraska for trying to play. They want to play, and they I think Scott Frost and the administration's sending a message to their student athletes saying that, hey, we're fighting for you. We want to do everything that we can to play football. Like I said, I don't think they ever expected, the Big Ten to say yes, but you only had 3-4 days to put something together. So, why not reach out and see if you can find a team to play, which they did. And you got to deal with all the logistics with that. If they're up to date with coronavirus testing, all that. So, before you run it up the flagpole to the Big Ten, why not put it together? But, as far as, Nebraska trying to do something against the Big Ten, that wasn't the case at all. I think, it's just, you got to try what you can try. Wisconsin can't play. It's too bad, and it punishes two teams. And, it could have implications moving, later on during the season when it comes to, the playoffs or even the Big Ten title game. So who knows?
And you hit it, Greg. It punishes two teams because everybody needs a partner to play. And it's ironic that this was the league that once they revised the season, which was just 3 or 4 days when they announced the schedule before they canceled the season, that this was the league that built in more flexibility than the rest of the leagues were proposing. They wanted to get on the field, the Big Ten did, before everybody else, so they could have the flexibility. And now because of the decisions that were made initially before the parents and the coaches and the players pushed back and the public to force this season, that now we're looking at a situation where, and especially with these guidelines being 21 days for quarantining versus 10 days in the NFL, you're talking about wrecking us potentially. I know in the Wisconsin situation, we're just talking about 6 players, and they should be able to get on the field next Saturday. But you're potentially talking about wrecking a season for a particular team by just one incident. And then, like you say, the ramifications and domino effect, it just carries on.
Well, Wisconsin, their quarterback room is wrecked for at least 21 days. So what are they going to do moving forward? And that's probably the most unfortunate part about that, because if they're allowed to play next week, I know Paul Crisp, I think he has to quarantine for 10 days, I think it is. But, Graham Mertz and the backup, they're 21 days. And so that's 3 games for them. So 4 games pretty much. So, yeah, I mean, this is what we're dealing with. And, if the Big Ten could have made some more decisions a little bit faster, they could have built in a little bit more flexibility to take care of things like this. But, when you're playing an only conference schedule, and that's, a lot of leagues are doing it. The SEC doing the same thing. And, your hands are tied at this point. So it's unfortunate, but, the Big Ten did come out and say that if a team couldn't play, that the game would be canceled and they would move on to the next week. So, yeah, it's unfortunate with the timing and everything, but I don't think anybody really expected the season to go off without a hitch anyway. I was looking at this week. I told people last week, I wasn't worried about the first game of the year. Nebraska's going to go play at Ohio State. No problem. I'm worried about week 2, especially with, what's going on in the state of Wisconsin when teams started traveling and, they had to go to Illinois last Friday night. And, this is kind of what I was expecting to happen, and it has happened. And, I don't think it's just the beginning. So we'll see. We'll see if anybody gets to move forward.
So we're going to dive into the football talk here in just a second. Want to let everyone know this is our first edition of Nebraska Live. So we've got Florida State, Miami, and Ohio State covered with weekly live streams, team-specific live shows in the same format. I've got suggestions from people every day. Every day, people are like, do Clemson, do Michigan, do LSU, whomever. But we had somebody step up with an actual sponsor for this Nebraska show. So I want to let everyone know out there as well that please support us through the Super Chat. That way I can supplement the guests as well. So we got the Super Chat on. So please keep us going with Nebraska football talk each week. We got Greg Peterson on the line from Huskers Online. That's the Rivals platform for Nebraska athletics. All right. When we go back to the Ohio State game, I'm just going to leave it carte blanche out there for you, Greg. What stood out to you, the good and the bad?
Well, I took a lot of good away from that game. Unfortunately, it got away from Nebraska, but I saw a lot of improvement in the defensive line. They got to the quarterback 4 times. They got 4 sacks, and that's a lot better than they did last year. And there's going to be there's a lot of young guys on that defensive line, and they're going to have to continue to improve and step up, and they're going to play a lot of guys, and I think that's going to be beneficial down the road. Offensively, I thought the offensive line played very well. They really gelled together. They kind of moved around some pieces and added some young guys, and I thought they did well. Quarterback play, exciting at times. There's still some mistakes going on, obviously, with some fumbles. That's got to get fixed. Back to the offensive line, there was a couple of crucial penalties there. That kind of stuff that you need to clean up. But, for the most part, it was a pretty clean game on both teams, for both teams. Nebraska really never did get their running game going, unfortunately. So we're going to have to figure some stuff out there. They're going to have to throw the ball downfield. I didn't do much of that. A lot of it was the dink and dunk stuff. So you're going to have to get some wide receivers involved, and that's going to mean some young guys stepping up. And hopefully we were going to see highly touted Omar Manning this week, but that's on hold again. But the linebackers, I think, really stood out. They played very well as a group, as a whole. I mean, Will Honus and Colin Miller, the 2 seniors, really played well, I thought. And on the outside, JoJo Doman had another good game. Secondary, I thought was going to be a strength there, and they really struggled. But, you do have to factor in who they were playing when, it's pretty hard to stop what Ohio State's going to do. So, but, for the most part, I liked what I saw. It was a vast improvement from last year. And, it's unfortunate that we don't get to see Nebraska play Wisconsin this week because I think Nebraska was really hungry to play at home and to, get a chance to, avenge, I think, 4 losses in a row to Wisconsin. So, that's on hold for another week, unfortunately. So now we have to wait and see what they can do at Northwestern.
Yeah, if we consider Ohio State to be what we expect them to be, which is one of the three best teams in the country like they were last year, consider that this was from pretty much kickoff, not a game in Lincoln last year. Nebraska comes down, and forget 52-17 to a certain extent. If you watched the game, number one, number two, if you looked at the box score and would grind down like the yards per play and the other metrics of the game, it's not a 52-17 game. They played much closer than that. Obviously, it was 14-all some point in the second quarter. And what stood out to me is Ohio State's supposed to have the best offensive line in the Big Ten. And there were 3 or 4 consecutive third and fourth and shorts for the Buckeyes running the ball that they could move with no Darian Daniels, no Khalil Davis, no Carlos Davis. Couldn't move Nebraska off the ball, Greg.
Yeah, and it was very encouraging. And, obviously Nebraska fans watching, they're going to say they got robbed. There was a couple of atrocious calls that went against Nebraska that Ohio State scored a touchdown after each one of those. And so, it kind of put the game out of reach. It killed any kind of momentum that Nebraska had. But, when they were playing them straight up, they had them down there a couple of times, but they just couldn't finish. Ohio State would complete a nice pass downfield, and it's just hard to stop them for a complete game, like I said, and everybody knows that. But like I was saying, that defensive line really stood out to me, and I think they're only going to get better. And they obviously missed that leadership, but Ben Stilley is that senior now, and he stepped up, and there was a little scare there early in the game when he went down, but he came right back in. And I want to see those guys as soon as possible. I want to see them back out there.
Now, the one thing that Omar Manning could certainly contribute to, and we expect to see out of Wan'Dale Robinson, who touched it, I believe, 6 times, but he only had about 8 yards per catch. And that's the thing that I noticed is Taylor Martinez went 12 for 15, but Ohio State was really keeping everything in front of them, and Nebraska really couldn't stretch the field. But again, I would love to see Omar Manning in the mix here soon.
Yeah, absolutely. And, there's a lot of these guys that you want to see, freshman Xavier Betts. You want to see gosh, now I'm just drawing a blank right here. Well, obviously, Cade Warner, but Chris Hickman, who's actually a tight end, but he's playing a lot of wide receiver. You want to see what he can do, and then you got your young guys that you really didn't get to see either. So there wasn't a lot of receivers in play here. I think that had to do with your opponent, obviously, but once we get into a few more games, we'll see what they're going to do. There's a lot of talent out there, and they want to get them the ball. It's just a little hard, I think, to get done what you want to get done when you play Ohio State right out of the gate. So, we'll see. We'll see.
We got Greg Peterson on the line. This is our Big Nebraska show that is coming your way every Thursday night at 6 o'clock Eastern. And I should mention the local time. Shoot, everybody that's most interested in this, probably in the Central Time Zone, 5 p.m. Central Time. And again, you can join Greg and the rest of the staff there at Huskers Online. And that's on Rivals. So everybody's familiar with Rivals that loves college football. I see a ton of the regulars here in the live chat. So they've heard me rant about the targeting penalties and just the targeting rule over the last 3 days. So they don't need to hear more from me because they've heard it before. But I'd like to get your take on it, Greg, because I think it's twofold, and then I'll shut up. I think it's the determination of what a targeting is needs to be tweaked, but then the penalty also needs to be tweaked as well. But I'll let you take off on this.
Well, yeah, I think they need to adapt something like the NFL does. They have a couple of different degrees of that, and I think that's probably the most logical thing because what they're doing right now, it's not working. You can see right there, there's no intent there. Two of them, there's 3 of them called during that game, and obviously there was no intent on any of them. But just with the little slightly touching of a helmet, that's got to be changed. It's ridiculous. It changes the course of a game, and now you get penalized for sitting out the first half of your next game. That's just ridiculous. If you can't change the part about a degree of it, then you've got to change maybe the penalty. Okay, if a guy maliciously does it, boom, he's out for the next game too. If it's accidental like this, maybe just kick him out for the rest of this game and forgive that further penalty. But the replay, it shows you. This is my problem with it. You can see right there that it shouldn't be a penalty, but I believe they have like 3 factors that determine the whole deal there. That if one of those are met, then it's still a penalty. And I don't know. This needs to be rethought because Nebraska is not the only team that gets penalized with this. It happens every weekend all over the country.
There was a play in one of the semifinal games, the Oklahoma LSU. That's the last time I saw a play in which there was targeting, and you can't get into the player's mind, of course, but it seemed almost obvious that there was ill intent. It was malicious. It was a deal on a kickoff return where you can tell they've got the angle, and he's just trying to take somebody out for no reason. The play's 20 yards away, and he can just and he lowers it and just launches and just levels him. Exactly. Okay. That's a personal foul and the whole deal. Yeah. But my goodness, the most of these, and I don't blame the officials on the field because those plays are happening so fast and those kids are so fast and the collisions are so quick that I have no issue with them siding on the side of caution to say that could have been targeting. We're going to throw the flag, because then it can always be reviewed and reversed in the booth because they're the ones that get to see it 84 times and get to see it from every angle. And that's when it should be corrected.
But it wasn't. It hasn't.
And it wasn't. Yeah, exactly.
It shows you they're trying not to hit them there. They're tackling how they're taught. And, these guys are a lot luckier than it was in our time, because there's no way that you could have changed how you learned how to tackle back in the day when you did use your helmet, your head, and stuff like that. I mean, you were always taught to keep your head up and tackle straight up like this. But, obviously it's a natural reaction to go down. But when that replay shows that they were actually trying not to do it and stuff, and they still don't overturn it, that's where the problem lies. And I don't know if they need to be educated a little bit more or what. But what else do you want these guys to do? They're trying to lay off of them, and they're getting flagged for it.
Exactly. I think it's just gotten to a place where it's so hard to play defense anyway. To get these guys that are so fast in all this space, it's impossible to play defense anyway. But these rules have become so to be able to contort and move your body in a split second when a guy's coming across the middle that fast. It's just they are being asked the impossible.
And how many times do you see it when it's initiated by the offensive player? I mean, a lot of the time. So I don't know.
That's almost like a face mask, Greg. If you watch, how many running backs do you see throw out the stiff arm right in the face mask of the defensive player? They never get called for that. Yep. All right. We're going to bring on Chris Wall from Husker Hype as well to join in the discussion. It's Nebraska Live here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. How you doing, Chris?
Hey, guys. Hey, Mark. Hey, Greg. How's it going?
Good. How about you?
Doing well. Kind of was listening into the targeting discussion there. I assume that would have come up sooner or later.
Kind of hit a couple of your players there. Yeah. I'm kind of with Greg there. It's just what do you want? What do you want the guy to do? And especially when you go back and you take time to look at it, just get it right. I think if you can just get it right, and that's what it needs to be. It's just really, really disappointing to see that kid
sat out. I don't know if you touched on it, but sat out all last year. Finally gets a chance, gets in there, makes some big plays, and then he's gone. So,
and what's funny about it, not funny, ironic, is that it's the only rule in football and maybe in sports that it depends on when it's committed during the game as to how severe the penalty is. If you commit a targeting on the first play of the second half, you're going to miss the entire half, and then you're going to miss a full game. If you commit it on the last play of the game, then you're just going to miss the first half of the next game. That's completely unfair and inconsistent.
It is. It is. I mean, what happens when it happens on the first series of the game? You miss a whole game and a half. I mean, it's something's got to change. It's just ridiculous. And, like you said, Chris, Deontay Williams, he just missed a whole year. And he can't even get off to a start here this year because of this. And, it's not fair. Make a rule that is obvious, that something that you can enforce without unnecessary penalties. Punishments. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't want to drag it out too much, but at the same time, I feel like, and I was watching Big Ten the rest of the day, and there was just a targeting call in every single game that I was watching. So I almost feel just like any particularly aggressive hit, they're just throwing a flag and then making a call after it. And it's just, I get it, but at the same time, why are we stopping play because there was a big hit in a football game? It's just kind of, it's crazy. And did we have four, or didn't we have four called targeting?
I think there was one on Ohio State, so there was 3 on Nebraska.
Well, there was one on Doman, right?
Yeah, that got picked
Doman.
up.
Yeah, right. Doman, Cam, 2 on Deontay, because the hit on Olave was picked up.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So we had 4. Yeah. There were 4. Has there ever in the history of college football been 4 targeting plays called on one team in a single game?
I don't think
so. I mean, they weren't upheld. I understand that, but called in the first place.
Somebody asked me that at halftime. Yeah, I got a text about that, and I was like, probably 4. I mean, you're probably looking at it. So,
well, Chris, I was making the point to Greg that I don't have so much of an issue with the officials on the field making the call, because for them to see what's going on in a split second is so difficult. And if they see a head jerk or somebody lower, I leave it in the responsibility at the hands of the review of the replay. Because they get to see it 50 zillion times from every angle, and they should make the correct call then.
I agree. I agree to that. I mean, Deontay Williams, he laid the wood on that kid, and it was a hit, and it was like, wow, maybe he did hit him, but I mean, they went back, and God, he made such a great play. How he turned his head and he put his shoulder right in the guy, and
beautiful.
It's just so hard for me. I don't want anyone to get hurt, but at the same time, if I'm his coach, I'm like, keep doing that.
I mean, you're doing what you're taught. I mean, bottom line. So, and I don't know if it was that officiating crew, because then they missed that the Ohio State touchdown. The guy clearly with his foot inbounds in the back of the end zone, and those officials don't even see that, and that had to be overturned in replay. So I don't know.
If anything, when I watch these games, I'm amazed at how much these defensive players have adjusted their approach to some of these hits.
Yeah,
I'm thinking they're like 20, 21 years old. They've been playing football since they were 5 or 6, and they've corrected themselves in like 3 years. I'm sometimes amazed to think in a split second he dipped his shoulder and led, and even thought of that while he's just trying to get somebody on the ground. So it's pretty fascinating. So, Chris, we're going to get your take on the Ohio State game here in just a second, but want to remind everyone, as James Warner, our guy in the live chat, has reminded everyone, and I appreciate everyone reminding the live chat to hit the like button. It means a lot here. And that Nebraska Live is brought to you by the Cornhusker fans there at Phone Genie at ToleyBrothersLick.com. You see the link there on the banner. Tolley Brothers offers products for home and workplace to deliver serious and effective germ mitigation efforts, and remind everyone that the Super Chat is available to contribute to what we're doing here at Mark Rogers TV. the voice of college football, and so we can bring on the best guests possible. All right, Chris, we're going to lay it out for you. 52-17 for me wasn't indicative of the play on the field. Your thoughts about the Huskers, the good and the bad?
No, yeah, it didn't seem like 52-17. It felt a lot better than that. I just thought that overall Nebraska on both sides of the ball, they looked a little bit more like they belonged. Physically, speed-wise, it just looked like they belonged a little bit more there with obviously a national contender. I thought the lines played pretty well. And then, other than that, where there's just some self-inflicted errors. I think I saw a stat that there was like 6 drives that we combined for like 5 yards or something like that on. And it's just there were so many times where we were just moving the wrong way. And that's the one thing on offense that's just hard to see sometimes when we know we're capable of moving the ball down the field. On defense, I said it before the game, you absolutely have to get off the field on 3rd down and 5, 6 plus. And that 3rd and 13 when they almost had that safety and then they run between the tackles up for that 1st down, that was just like, oh man, you had them. So just you got to get off the field and then again on offense, I think it's just moving the ball, not even scoring points, but you have to tie together a couple of 1st downs and at least flip the field a little bit and just move the ball, give your defense a break. But overall, like I said, I thought they looked a little bit more like they belonged.
Got a question in from Ballard Sports Media. Curious about the main goal for Nebraska this year: Big Ten title, going to the championship game, or a bowl win? What do you guys think is realistic? We'll start with you, Greg.
Well, realistically, they want to make it to a bowl game. I mean, that's going to be your number one goal. Then you can add a division title and then maybe a Big Ten title. But making a bowl game right now, it's been a drought. Boy, I can't remember the last time I went to a bowl game. Oh yeah, it was Nashville. But yeah, this team, they need a positive season, and I don't know if that's a 2-1 record or what, but they need to make a bowl game. Basically, that's what the goal is at Nebraska right now.
What you got, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, as far as bowl eligibility, I mean, everyone's eligible, but you want to earn that, right? So, I mean, at the beginning of the season, I was at 4-4, and obviously now we have 7 games. So, I mean, I think they're still capable of winning 4 games this season. But I think if Nebraska can win, if they can win 3 games and then they can win that crossover, you're 4-4 going to a bowl game. I mean, that's competitive. And hopefully you beat Iowa or Minnesota.
I got to say, I love listening to these Scott Frost news conferences. Always have, ever since he made it back to Nebraska. Favored son. He, regardless of the record, let's see, he's now 9-16 in Nebraska. I still think he's the right guy for the job. I think he'll turn it around. I don't know that there's the ceiling at the program that there was 20 to 25 years ago, but that's a debate for another time. But in terms of him being the guy, he's proven enough at Oregon and then at UCF to know that he can do the job. What he brings to the table that I think is phenomenal is, and we saw it during this whole Big Ten cancellation, is that he doesn't mind ruffling feathers. He doesn't mind telling it like it is. He doesn't mind saying, we're here to play big boy football and we're cleaning up this program and we're going at it. And even if the Big Ten gets in the way of us playing football, we're going to call them out. So he made a comment after the game about having more players on the team that will compete and be the kind of players that he wants. But he also said something, you can tell that there's still a weeding out process in regards to maybe still having some players in the program that aren't necessarily committed to winning or making the sacrifice or being satisfied with a 20-point loss, and that's okay. That he still doesn't have the roster exactly where he wants it.
Well, I don't know about still being anybody really left on that roster that needs to be weeded out. I think most of that's already been done coming into this season. But as far as what Coach Frost and the rest of the coaching staff wants, obviously they don't have the roster that they want to have in place yet with the type of depth that they're going to need. But it's coming, and unfortunately with the situation we're in with the COVID, some of the young guys that they were really liked that were here ended up not sticking around because they wanted to be close to home with what's going on and stuff. But, it's a work in progress, and, they're working on, they're filling the needs that they have. And, another good recruiting class that they're putting together right now is only going to help things in the future. So, those voices that were there, the ones that didn't want to compete, they're gone. Everybody else that's here wants to be here, and they want to win football games here. They know what the tradition is like here, and they want to win football games for Coach Frost and for Husker Nation. So
next time I'm going to take that exact quote. I'm going to quote him exactly. He did say something after the game, like there was still just a few guys maybe that he wasn't so sure about. But
anybody that would be maybe in that category is going to be, a guy that's a senior probably that's been around for a while, and somebody that they didn't recruit. But you got to remember too, you're dealing with 18 to 20-year-old kids here that sometimes they get to where they're going and they're not quite the player that you expected them to be, and you're not the place that they expected it to be. So we'll see.
We've got you on here, Greg. I got to hit you up for recruiting. Right now I'm looking at, depending on your service, a top 5 class in the Big Ten, a top 20 to 25 class in the nation for 2021. Who have I know that because of the craziness of 2020, you haven't quite seen and made the visits that you typically do. But who are some of the guys out there that you've scouted firsthand, and what do you like about the class coming up?
Well, yeah, right now Rivals has them ranked 17th in the country. I've actually been out to see quite a few commits. Luckily, Nebraska's done a great job with 5 in-state recruits, 3 from Iowa, 1 from South Dakota. So I've actually got to see all those guys in person. So I like a lot of the guys that I've seen. Obviously, I'll start in-state. Rivals 100 offensive tackle Teddy Prohaska. He's a guy that we've talked about a lot on this show, and he's been committed since last year in Nebraska, and big 6'9". He's got once he puts on the kind of weight that you're going to want a guy like that to play with, he should be a good one down the line. You got a safety and Kobe Bretts at Omaha Westside, who's one of the top 2 teams in the state this year, and I'm gonna see them play again tomorrow in second round of the Nebraska State playoffs. They host Grand Island, and then I'm gonna jump across the river and go see Thomas Fedoni, the Rivals 100 tight end commit, which right now is the bell cow of the class. Everybody wanted Fedoni, and Nebraska had the best relationships with him, and a lot of this, having guys close to you like this in these times where you can't take official visits has helped out a lot. It really has. So you got him, and then with 3 tight ends, they've taken 3 tight ends in this class, so they're really stocking up. Omaha Creighton Prep, AJ Rollins, he's another big body. He's 6'5", and then you've got James Carney, who's another 6'5". He's out of Norris, out of Firth, Nebraska, which is just right outside of Lincoln here. So they're loading up in state here. Then you've got a quarterback, Heinrich Harburg. He's from Kearney Catholic, here, Kearney, Nebraska, and he's another 6'5" guy. Good looking quarterback. They host first round playoff game tomorrow night as well. And who else have I seen? You got a linebacker out of Iowa, outside linebacker Seth Malcolm. I love this kid. He plays 8-man football out of Tabor, Iowa, at Fremont Mills High School. And this kid reminds me a lot of Luke Reimer, who was a walk-on at Nebraska, who just earned a scholarship and played a lot of football as a true freshman last year for Nebraska. This kid runs sideline to sideline and hits like a ton of bricks. And then way out almost in Illinois, Big Henry Lutowski. I saw him a couple weeks ago. He'll move inside and play offensive guard at Nebraska, and I tell you what, he impressed the heck out of me. His technique is amazing. He never holds, and I even brought that up to his coach after the game. I said, he never holds, and he goes, he never does hold. He actually did get called for a hold in that game. It was the first hold of the year that he got called. And, it was a blowout win in the first round of the playoffs for them. But, he's impressive. Nebraska's the last 3 years have had a big-time offensive line commit. And 2 years ago with Bryce Benhart, then last year with Turner Corcoran. And you had Henry Lutowski right up to this list. He's only ranked a 3-star, but hopefully, he's going to get a bump up in the next ranking here. So those guys, I really love those guys. And then you add some other, some nice out-of-state guys. You got a pair of guys out of Buford, Georgia, that are going to help out a lot, in those positions of need. You've got a 4-star wide receiver coming out of Texas. Nebraska always seems to grab somebody special out of that state every year. So, they've spread it around. They got a big offensive lineman out of Utah, which I was going to go see, but still don't really want to get on a plane right now. But yeah, I have missed going out around the rest of the country and seeing some of these guys in person. So, it's always different than just watching their game film. You learn a lot more about these guys when you go see them play in person and you talk to them. So, but overall, I love what they're doing right now. And probably, they're taking a full boat here. So, they got 19 commits right now, probably looking at about 4 more, maybe 5. So,
Greg Peterson, Huskers Online, and also Chris Wall from Husker Hype. Chris, you can certainly add to the recruiting discussion if you'd like, or with Northwestern coming up, I'm always interested in personnel in regards to anybody that you're looking to see be a breakout guy in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, with the recruiting, I think Greg, obviously, he hit on all that. I like that they're locking down the area and they're not letting these big kids go to the competitive schools around us. I think they're really recruiting height, too. I mean, everyone's just huge. So I think that's a really big positive. Obviously, getting Fedoni, I mean, that was massive. So for Northwestern, coming up personnel, I mean, I think the one that you're wondering about is Omar Manning. Is he playing? Is he not? So, I mean, I guess that's the one. And then do they run Mills more? Do we see more of Mills? Because we didn't really see much of him in the first game. So Mills, Wandale, and Omar, as far as the offensive side of the ball, is what I'd be kind of wondering about for the Northwestern game.
And for anybody out there not aware, Omar Manning, the number 1 JUCO wide receiver in the nation, has made his way to campus. Did not play in week 1 against Ohio State. James Warner's got a question here for Greg. Whatever happened to the walk-on talent Tom Osborne used in building this program? Recruiting has truly dropped off considerably over the last 25 years.
Well, the walk-on program has actually been paying off pretty well here the last couple of years since Coach Frost made his way back here. It kind of got lost in the shuffle a little bit under Bo Pelini. Bo Pelini just didn't recruit in-state very effectively. I mean, I don't want to say he didn't recruit in-state guys, but there was a lot of guys that he used to overlook. and would just kind of assume that those top guys that didn't get an offer were going to walk on, because that's kind of like the tradition that Nebraska used to have. Now, Mike Riley, when he got here, he made a conscious effort to make a little bit bigger splash with walk-ons. Obviously, we know what happened. He never really got a chance to see his vision play out. But no, Scott Frost understands the walk-on tradition here at Nebraska, and you know what? They're adding 25 to 30 walk-ons a year. I don't know if you're aware that Nebraska has 154-man roster. I think it is. They've got the biggest roster in Division I football, I believe. So yeah, there's a lot of walk-ons here, and there's a lot of walk-ons that have been contributing out of need, actually. So just look for it to get better and better, because a lot of these in-state kids, they want to come here and play. They always have, and with Coach Frost here, it's even a bigger want to now.
Nebraska Live, brought to you by the Cornhusker fans at Phone Genie. It's ToleyBrothersLick.com. You see it there on the banner. Toley Brothers offers products for home and workplace to deliver serious and effective germ mitigation efforts. Don't have to talk to anyone about germ mitigation these days, so check it out. Check out their products right there. I think we've all certainly gotten our fill of becoming medical wannabe experts here in the last 7 months or so.
Hey, I'm married to a doctor, so.
Well, you've got I want to say a leg up, or about 15 legs up on the rest of us when it comes to understanding what's going on.
I wanted to add something what Chris was wanting to see. I wanted to add Alante Brown onto that list. We didn't get to see any Alante Brown, and Ronald Tompkins was another guy that he got some chances there against Ohio State, and he looked really good. And I kind of wondered why they didn't go more to Ronald Tompkins, but those are a couple of guys that I want to see touch the ball a little bit more here in their next game.
Yeah, Lonte caught one ball, and I mean, it was like he made that one cut, and it was like, whoa, where'd he go?
Yeah. So,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Comment
made by Stephen Dunning talking about Ohio State's prowess in recruiting, and I'll hit both of you up with this one, because obviously you can go to the recruiting rankings, and I'm going to go out on a limb thinking that Greg's a believer in the recruiting rankings, seeing that he works for one of the chief platforms out there in Rivals.
20 years.
Wow, 20 years. So, well, we'll get into a discussion about that at another time in regards to, I got a ton of questions for you about the whole process. But just in regards to, you can pretty much match up the top 25 and the top 25. Now, that's a bit of a stretch. Texas is underachieved like nobody in the nation. It's not even close. And then you've got the Wisconsins of the world that somehow take top 40 classes and make them top 10 teams. But other than that, especially at the top, Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama seem to be the three, and then Georgia as well. I heard a stat the other day, Greg, that there are 25 stars in the Big Ten, and out of the 20 in the Big Ten, 14 signed at Ohio State.
Yeah.
So,
does that surprise you?
No, it doesn't. No, it didn't surprise me at all. What's your thought about where Nebraska needs to get? You mentioned the 17th class as it stands right now. That would seem to be in an area where they would need to be with Wisconsin and Iowa to be a main contender to win that Big Ten Western Division year in, year out.
You're right, Mark. Let me tell you what I have learned throughout my years working at Rivals and on the national side, and then also covering a team. Pretty much where your recruiting ranking ends during the year is pretty much going to be where you're ranked at the end of the college football year, too. It kind of seems to fall that way quite a bit. So, I mean, what Nebraska's, okay, they got the 17th ranked class right now. A lot of times here, it drops down into the mid-20s or something by the end of it. But you obviously need to step that up. Nebraska is a blue blood, a college football blue blood. You want to be up. You need to have a top 10 recruiting class if you're going to compete in the Big Ten. Nebraska fans, you want to get a top 5 recruiting class. You want to, look. Last time Nebraska was a powerful recruiting class was under Bill Callahan. Okay, he was recruiting like your Ohio States, like your Alabamas, and he never got the chance to finish out his vision either, unfortunately. But obviously, your question, I think it answers itself because you want to have some of those 5 stars. Nebraska's not had a 5-star recruit since Baker Steinkuhler came out of Lincoln Southwest High School. So, that's got to step up. Nebraska needs to start getting 2, 3, 5 stars in each class, and then supplement that with a good 10 or a dozen 4-star guys. Right now, Nebraska's got 3 4-star guys. Those are their highest ranked recruits. The rest, obviously you build your classes on 3-star talent. That's what Wisconsin's a master at doing. But you look at most people's rosters; they're full of 3-star, 2-star guys. So that's just where the numbers are going to lie. And the key is finding those diamonds in the rough, which Wisconsin's had a real good run at doing here. A lot of guys in-state guys that they take that don't get recruited real heavily, they turn into some studs. So, obviously you want a mix of that here at Nebraska. You want to get some of those higher ranked guys, but you still need a lot of these guys that you're getting, these in-state guys that are going to, make the foundation of your team for 4 years, that are going to stick around for 4 years.
So what do you think the formula is? Is the formula, like you say, you build and complement the roster? The 5 stars and even the 4 stars don't build the roster. The roster is built on the 3 stars. And I'm guessing you can get those in your region of the country, although there's a lot of Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa influence in the upper Midwest. But you can get a lot of that in Nebraska, Iowa, Kansas, etc.
Which is what they do. Missouri.
Other than that, to get the game changers, of course, there's some right there in your backyard, but there's probably not enough. I know Mike Riley went the California route. Others have gone the Texas route when you were in the Big 12, and now it seems like Florida's been more of a destination for Scott Frost.
Florida has been Scott Frost's kind of stomping ground, what have you, because they've got a lot of ties down in the South Florida area, and like I mentioned earlier, there was a couple of guys that were in this last year's class out of Florida that didn't make it here, that could have been some game changers that I was really excited about. But Florida and Georgia have been the 2 southern states where Nebraska's been having a lot of success lately, and I expect them to keep on hitting those areas hard. And Texas is a place that you have to get into more than they have been. I think it was on the Ohio State broadcast. I think they had mentioned, Nebraska used to, or maybe it was after on the radio or something, that Nebraska used to always recruit Jersey and California hard, which they did. And why can't they get back to that? But recruiting is way different than it was back then. You got a lot more places down in the South that are much more desirable, than coming into the middle of the country. A lot of these kids don't even know what the tradition of Nebraska football used to be, back from the 70s on through the 90s. So, you got to keep on, you got to keep getting the top kids from around your region. You can't let them get away. Every year there seems to be like a top ranked guy right around in our backyard that gets away from us. There's one at Omaha West Side right now, Avante Dickerson, he's committed to Minnesota, and a lot of the commits on the team are his best friends committed to Nebraska, and they're all working him hard. But you can't let these guys get away, and then you've got to get in early on these guys. A lot of times when you see a big, highly ranked guy come to Nebraska, it's because Nebraska was that first team that ever showed interest in him, and Nebraska showed the kind of interest in that particular prospect that they were looking for, as far as maybe position-wise, where, a kid, maybe he's getting recruited at a certain position by everybody else, but he doesn't want to play that position. And Scott Frost says, hell, come to Nebraska. We'll let you play wherever you want to. We just want you here. We want to be part of your, you're part of your family. So, there's a lot of those factors in there. And, it's hard to recruit here for sure. And it's gotten a lot harder. But, I think the right guy and the right staff is in place here to get it done down the road.
Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. By demand, a Nebraska show, Nebraska live stream. So we do Ohio State on Wednesday afternoon at 2 o'clock Eastern time. We do Florida State at 6 on Wednesday. The Miami show has to float because of scheduling conflicts, but we've locked it in here, hopefully, with Nebraska live on a Thursday night at 6 o'clock Eastern time, 5 o'clock Central. And we got Greg Peterson on the line from Husker Online and also Chris Wall from Husker Hype. So we ask that you check out their work. You can catch Chris again at Husker Hype. So we got Northwestern. Unfortunately, no game. Was looking forward to Nebraska, Wisconsin. I know it's been a bad one for the Huskers over the last several years, and going back to when Greg's rolling his eyes to when Nebraska joined the Big Ten. And
it's close last year. Almost had them.
Was it close last year?
Yeah. Almost
that 70-39 game still rings in my head from the Big Ten championship game when they gave a bazillion yards on rushing the football. Boy,
you used a picture of me on that field there that day on the
okay.
I can see it right now.
Well, let me ask you this, Greg, and Chris as well. Definitely, both of you guys chime in on this one, because this fascinates me that near Nebraska's end in the Big 12, they were a defensive-minded team, and Dominican Sue, obviously the poster child for that. But, I'm thinking of that Big 12 championship game in which Colt McCoy had to throw the ball out of bounds, whether he had a second or not. That team was so dominant on defense that Colt McCoy and that Texas offense that was scoring 45 and 50 points on everybody, the number one offense in the country that almost won a national championship, couldn't budge that Nebraska defense. Nebraska, they played in several Big 12 championship games there at the end of their run in the Big 12, and that was led by defense. Suddenly, they step into the Big 10, and they've got skill position players running all over the place, and they've got the first Martinez at quarterback, and he had a nice run. And then suddenly, they can't play defense or stop anyone. How in the world did that happen overnight, especially with a defensive-minded head coach?
Yeah, people will always say that they were built for the Big 12. And I don't know. I think that was more of a myth than actually having a bunch of good defensive guys in there when you were in the Big 12 under Bo Pelini. And then once you switched over to the Big 10, I think that those type of players that you used to get at Nebraska wanted to go elsewhere and didn't want to play in the Big 10. So I think Nebraska eventually is kind of just switching up because they were forced to switch their offensive philosophy. I think they were forced to recruit more towards offensive guys than to the defensive guys that you were used to getting and kind of expecting just to show up at Nebraska. And I think that speaks back to a little bit about Bo Pelini's recruiting philosophies and kind of laziness, I'll go out there and say, in recruiting that way. And then you get Mike Riley here, and then all of a sudden they want to switch to a 3-5 or 3-4, and that's proven not to work very well in the Big Ten. So I just think they've been looking for a strange kind of recipe to come up with something that works, but it just hasn't been able to work in the Big Ten. Now, I think that they've addressed those needs. They know what they need to do, and that's why I think I really liked what I saw with that defensive line, as they keep building the defensive line and the linebacking depth. I think they're going to get back to that kind of – because, Scott Frost knows about that kind of defense. Barrett Rood knows about that kind of defense. Those guys all do, Coach Held played at Nebraska. Greg Austin played at Nebraska. Those guys know what black shirts are all about, and they know what kind of tradition that is, and they know, what that means as far as a winning football team. So I think you can expect to see the defense really start to get a lot better here in the next few years.
Give us what you got, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. There's just been so many changes, right? Coaches over the years, and just they're trying to build an identity on defense and find something that works. I also think that the Big Ten is built more on stop the run, get to a third down, and then you need to have one or two dudes that can just get to the quarterback and guys that are going to come off the edge. You know, a Bosa or the Ohio State guy last year, the big one. Chase.
Chase
I
Young.
forget it. Yeah, Chase Young. Just a guy that you know on third down is going to get to the quarterback. So I think Nebraska is getting closer to those big linemen that are going to be able to hang in there with the run game. But we got to find somebody that can create a pass rush. It's been one of the most lacking things in my eyes in the past 5-6 years is just a complete lack of developing a pass rush.
I think it goes back even longer than 5 or 6 years.
It might be maybe like Randy Gregory. That might be the last one I can really think of. That when he put his hand down and he lined up on the edge, you knew he was coming.
He was the last one. Yep, you're right. Yep.
Good stuff. Talking Nebraska football. Wish there was a game against Wisconsin, but we've got Northwestern. If everybody can stay safe and everybody can keep out of harm's way, or a very small amount of people maybe.
I was looking forward to actually getting to go to a game on Saturday. You know, I was going to have to sit in the stands, but I was still going to get to go. But oh well.
Well, there are future weeks,
and it was going to be nice too. It was going to be in mid-60s.
Okay,
it's going to be so nice. Yeah,
you'll get out there as it gets colder.
Yeah, so
we'll get you out there in mid-December.
Yeah,
those late season games. But Northwestern coming off a huge win against Maryland. Guys, I had to go back to 1970 to find a Northwestern win in conference play by that kind of score, by at least 40 points. And we'll tackle the Wildcats and their new quarterback, Peyton Ramsey, next week. It's great having everybody on board. We eclipsed 100 online here live with Chris Wall from Husker Hype, and also Greg Peterson join his work on Rivals Husker Online. Want to let you know one more time that Nebraska Live brought to you by the Cornhusker fans at Phone Genie. So these folks flagged me down. That's how adamant they were about a Nebraska football show, even though I've had tons of requests for it at ToleyBrothersLick.com. Tolley Brothers offers products for home and workplace delivery to deliver serious and effective germ mitigation efforts. And so, boys, I'm going to clean up the live chat. I will let you guys get off here. I'll be on for maybe 2 or 3 more minutes. I just want to answer anything that might still be on here. But we appreciate you stopping by and being our core here for our first Nebraska Live show. Appreciate it so much.
Yeah. Hey, and don't forget, tell everybody, you can always, if you want to go look at any of those recruits that I've seen, go check out my videos on our Husker Online video YouTube channel, and you can also see all of our other coverage of Nebraska football. So don't forget to go there and check it out.
Awesome. All right, Greg, appreciate it. Chris, thank you so much.
Thanks, Mark.
Yep, thanks, Mark. Take care.
All right, our first Nebraska Live show in the books. All right. See, this is what I tell you guys all the time. I will do any team, anytime. We had somebody step up with a sponsorship. So that's what we need. And it would help tremendously if we got some contributions in the Super Chat for our guests as well. And again, I want to make good on this. Nebraska Live brought to you by the Cornhusker fans at Phone Genie. So here it is for you. And then I'm going to check out the live chat and remind everyone that coming up in less than an hour, we've got Miami football talk with Cam Underwood from State of the U. In less than an hour, 8 o'clock Eastern time, Miami football talk, State of the U, Cam Underwood. So lock it in right here. And again, Nebraska Live brought to you by Phone Genie. There you've got the link right there, ToleyBrothersLick.com. And also want to let you know that Big Ten football fans, Plenty of Ohio State football talk as they prepare for Penn State. We're talking to a Black Shoe Diaries later tonight. That'll be posted tomorrow. And also Michigan. We have posted some Michigan content. I talked to Steve Dace from Michigan Podcast this week. We're going to get that content to you, as well as a talk with Justin Rowe on Michigan football and whether the Wolverines are ready to tackle the Big Ten and finally win a championship for the first time since 2004. And with the big Wisconsin announcement yesterday, we had on Bucky's Fifth Quarter and Tyler Hunt, and had about 180 online with some instant news analysis on the Wisconsin situation. So we appreciate it across the board. Let's see if there's anything else in the live chat I need to address. James, it was great to see you. Thanks for encouraging everyone to smash the like button. Cheryl holding down the moderator role all by herself. Fabulous. We also have, let's see, Trevor, Judge Juno, Lord, Melissa May, Michael Hogue as moderators when they show up. But Cheryl's right here for us all the way through. Mickey, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Paulie Walnuts. I got to do it here. This is the first time I've ever seen this handle. And for Rawana Beast. Rawana Beast, go Buffs. Have a great show, guys. Best wishes. I think our Nebraska guests are bringing in some new folks here. So we got to say this. Welcome to Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Would love to know who you root for and how long you've been watching, because we want this to be your destination for college football talk all the time. We are here all the time. Check it out. Check out the videos every day talking college football. And, of course, we have our call-in shows. And I just posted a video. I actually put on the suit and tie for this video for the first time in years. Put on the suit and tie, posted a video, and released our live programming schedule. So let me run down the live chat here. Jeremy, thank you so much. Thank you, Cheryl. Appreciate that. Subscribe and hit the bell for the notifications. That way you know when we're going live. And like those videos, Murdered Blaze chiming in. Good to see that, too. Thank you, David Greenshield. Got KC Kevin Dog Fan for Life. And Mineral Tim as well. Yeah, Graham Mertz looked beyond good. Anybody else in the live chat that we need to? Mickey B, thank you so much again. Don't see any necessarily comments or questions. Chip is wondering what happened to Wonder Boy Scott Frost. He's building a program. It's a slow build. He's 25 games into it, 9-16. So my prediction, Nebraska will be Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa in 2 years, meaning 8-4, 9-3, and I know Wisconsin's been a little bit better than this. 8-4, 9-3, in that range, in contention for a Big Ten Western Division championship. I think the Big Ten West is going to be fascinating going forward now that Minnesota has elevated. Purdue could be elevating. Iowa is where they are. Nebraska has potential. 17th rated recruiting class in the nation coming in as it stands right now for 2021. It could be a very deep division. No elites, but it could be a very deep division with a lot of top 25 type teams. All right. State of the U's, Cam Underwood coming up with Miami Live at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Lock it in right here. We'll see you in about 45 minutes.